Welcome to another episode of Purpose Today. I'm your host, Dr. April Dobson, and I'm very excited to have a very special guest to the show today, Silke Harvey. Silke is the founder of Female Leaders Rising and the author of an amazing new book that we're going to talk more about as we get further in the show. You definitely want to ensure that you stay tuned so that you can hear about her brand new book, Female Leaders Rising, Volume 1, Founders Edition, and hear about all the many efforts that Female Leaders Rising is doing that's impacting the world. We're going to also have an opportunity today to really focus on resilience and purpose, pioneering new paths. And you're going to learn on the show today as we unpack all of the insight that Silke has that you can forge your own path. And when you're operating in purpose, everything that you're dreaming about, if you're willing to go after it, you can do it. So don't go anywhere. Stay right there. We'll be right back after these sponsor messages with our special guest, Silke Harvey. This episode of Purpose Today is brought to you by Purpose Today Global LLC and the Purpose Professionals community. The Purpose Professionals community has moved from school to its new platform. For more information on the Purpose Professionals community, visit the link that's in the chat. And if you're a professional who wants to be intentional about ensuring that your profession aligns with your purpose and you want to pivot professionally and connect with other like-minded professionals, grow your career, or ensure that your business is aligned with your purpose, join the Purpose Professionals community. Welcome back to Purpose Today. I'm so excited to introduce our special guest today, Silke Harvey. Silke, welcome to Purpose Today.
Thank you, Dr. April. It's a pleasure to be here.
You're very welcome, and such an honor to have you here on the show today. So I want us to get right in. I know I talked a little bit about the fact that you're an author, the fact that you founded and are leading Female Leaders Rising, but I'm sure the guests who are watching today would love to hear more about you. So could you please share about yourself with our guest?
Yes, sure. So I have walked many paths in my life. I started out as a rock and roll bass player, worked professionally in bands for over 20 years right across Europe. I have also been a financial translator in the corporate world. I have done lots of things, and my life has been very colorful, but it's led me right here, right now to Female Leaders Rising.
Well, thank you so much, Silke, for sharing that introduction. You know, I know at the offset, you said that you were in a band and you were actually playing in a band. And, you know, playing in a band and leading an organization that allows leaders to be cultivated and to really inspire people to step into leadership. There's quite a big variance between those two. And I know that we're never limited, but can you just share some insight on how you went from, you know, being in a band, in a rock band, to launching Female Leaders Rising?
Well, in a way, it sounds completely different, but in another way, it's not, because I wasn't just the bass player in the band. I was also the band manager. I ran a record label to get our music out there. I was actually one of the very first band managers who got a British band onto the internet in 1995. I got grants for our band, so I was always very enterprising. And it also taught me a lot how to work with people, how to manage people in a way, how to communicate with venues. So there was a whole plethora of things that I learned through being that. So it really set me up well. And then going into the corporate world, that gave me even further knowledge. So all of that together actually gave me a well-rounded background that I can now draw on for Female Leaders Rising.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for building that bridge, for viewers to see the connection between the two. I really believe that we all have leadership. We're all leaders, and we have leadership on the inside of us. And it's really about discovering who we are and then moving forward in it. And I think you had a wonderful path. You said something. You said you were always involved in enterprise. You were using those entrepreneurial skills. And, and really, when I really, think about it and reflect on everything that you said, being someone who has a band, you're motivating and inspiring people. And in that way, it's through music. It's through whatever songs, your band is playing. But we all have to find, our own beat, if you will. We find our own path that works for us. And the different inspiration that we have can come through a lot of different ways. So I'm so glad, that you were able to take your experiences, take these skills that you received, and really begin to allow how you developed, to really give back and inspire other people. I want to ask, because you and I have talked about it a little bit, but, it hasn't been mentioned here yet. There aren't, a lot of people who are in rock bands just in general, right? And probably fewer females who are in rock bands. Throughout your career, did you find that you were sort of pioneering and leading the way and creating paths throughout the different career paths that you chose? Or, or was it sort of just a couple of times that occurred through your career?
Well, as a musician, I can say hand on heart that I did not meet another female bass player in all the 20 years. I was always the only female amongst the boys. But again, that gave me a good setup, because I really learned how to assert myself and to become one of the gang, which sometimes wasn't easy. But you learn how to present yourself in such a way that you actually get taken seriously. And then later on as well, in the corporate world, not so much. There were quite a few females as well on my translation team. But then again, when I transitioned from the corporate world into setting up my own independent translation agency, I was very much on my own again. I had to forge my own path. And then at one point I actually burnt out entirely. And that's why I chose to give up translating and move into my other passion, spirituality. But then that's actually when the big change happened, because suddenly I found I was holding workshops. I never set out like that. I had my workshops open to anyone. But in the years that I did it, I think I only had 3 men ever attending. The rest was always women. So it kind of naturally developed into working with women. And I got more and more into the subject matter, deeper into it. Saw what the general problems were, realized that a lot of women have the same problems, realized that even I encountered the same problems throughout my life. And that's how my passion started to develop for helping women, which I'm doing now.
So you sort of had, different, experiences, and, we all have our own, experiences. But for you, just through your various experiences, you discovered that the deeper purpose and the deeper desire was helping people and helping women. And you said something earlier that I, want to ask you about, because you made a statement, that over the 20 years of being a bass player, you didn't meet any other female bass players, but it was helpful. And you talked about how it helped even in the corporate world to be able to assert yourself. And I think we find, in life, the balance between being bold, and ensuring that we're able to be assertive, but also continue to use partnership and build, relationships. So if there are people who are watching this episode and they sort of struggle with being able to be assertive, maybe they're a person who's a people pleaser, or maybe they're a person who, works to accommodate people, right, and give others preference. Are there, 1, 2, or 3 strategies that you can give a person to remain their authentic self, but also being assertive, so that they can share their ideas, or if they, have something that is going to be helpful or beneficial that they want to present, how they would best go about doing that so they are appropriately assertive instead of being too passive, if that makes sense.
Yes. Well, myself, the strategy I used for becoming one of the boys when I was in the band was actually, for the period that I was with the band and interacting with the band, completely setting aside my gender altogether. Forget about that I'm a woman. It doesn't really matter. I'm just a person going in there and dealing with the things that need to be dealt with and interacting with the others on a level, and not thinking about, well, I'm a woman, for example, we have to share a dressing room now. I have seen several of the band members naked, so they saw me like that. But you have to somehow compartmentalize that and set it aside, and not start acting squeamish and demanding special treatment. And then you will find that the others will actually start respecting you if you are meeting them on a level and you demand the same respect as everyone else, but you also don't demand any special treatment. And that worked for me.
So thank you for sharing what worked for you. For me, I believe there's certain things, like a woman would need privacy so she's not undressing in front of a man. That worked for you. I'm not saying that people should do that, but I think that the underlying thing that you were saying is you find ways to build bridges. I think that's what you were, ultimately getting to. You're not just saying for everything, well, and I'll give another example because I served in the Air Force for 11 years. And when we went to basic training, everyone had to pick up and put down their suitcases, pick them up and put them down. And so I grew up in Mississippi.
Exactly.
And so in the South, oftentimes there are certain things that men do for women as a matter of being polite and of preference, and so if you have something heavy to carry, a man would carry it in being polite and, extending that, that hospitality and that grace, right? And so in basic training, the women didn't look over at the men and say, well, you pick up my suitcase for me. We all carried our own. So I think the underlying thing that you're saying is to contribute, find ways that you can build bridges, right? And not just try to make a way for everyone to make special provisions for you. Now, of course, if we have anyone who's in any workplace or whatever the case may be, don't give up your privacy for the restroom. I don't think that's what you're saying, right? I don't think you're giving the advice for women to necessarily do that. But I think also in saying this is where we need to, create a level of what's needed. Because I think if you had a person who was in your band and they needed, something for their instrument and it was a different instrument, you would accommodate that, right? So it's accommodating what needs to be accommodated, but not asking for something just for the sake of the fact that you're a female and they're all men. So I think that's what you were getting at, right?
Exactly. And you just said about the suitcases. That's a perfect example, actually. In all the years that I was in the band, I never once asked any of the boys to carry my bass amp for me, even though that's the most heavy item from the entire gear that you can possibly carry. I always made a point of carrying it myself. Same thing, what you just said about the suitcase, which means basically that you are not asking for any special treatment and you're not asking for favors. But then on the other side, if someone else struggles, you help them as well. It doesn't matter. That's what I meant by setting aside your gender altogether for a little while and just become part of a team.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that full circle, because, I think looking at things as a team and as a collaborative unit, you get more. I know there's a saying that they say there's no I in team, right? Mm-hmm. So you find the ways to work together. But I do think that there are times where accommodations might be needed to ensure that someone has their privacy or they have something that they genuinely need. I remember during the time that I was serving in the Air Force, it was only about 20% female at the time that I was serving. And when I had my son, I nursed. So when I went back to work, I still had to pump. At that time, there were no rooms that I could use as a lactation room. Now all over the world, facilities are getting lactation rooms. But, I just expressed, I would like if I could have this. And they did make a room that I could use, for lactation, to pump. And they had, a refrigerator that I could use to store, the milk until I could drop it off. My son is since now he's almost, in fact, he's 25 today. It's his 25th birthday today. So happy birthday, Joseph. I know that I've already, and for all of you who are watching, please drop in the chat birthday wishes for my son, Joseph. But you said some great things. And so getting back to the dynamic of making sure that you're looking at the team and doing what you can do to build the team and the team unit. So thank you so much for that advice. And I think now that we're in the vein of team, I would like to talk about, and I think that was a great piece of advice. Is there any other advice that you can give for leaders and, individuals who know that they're a leader, but they're not in a formal role, to help them to better strengthen their teams and teams that they lead?
Yes, one way of strengthening your team is actually to get to know each team member, to know what their needs are and what their ways are, because all of us have got different ways of doing things or acting. And then when you come together as a team, to be really good at negotiating between different team members and also knowing how to delegate certain tasks, because as a team leader, as a leader, you should always know who is best to complete a task and who is best to maybe help with the task. And if you have that knowledge of every single person on your team and you delegate all the tasks correctly so that everybody is working within their own zone of genius, you will have a team that works perfectly together.
That's good. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that genius zone is very important. Being able to find the areas that are people's strengths. And I think oftentimes that goes into, a person's gifts, talents, skills, and what their purpose is. So from your perspective, what role or how much significance do you believe that purpose has in our lives?
A purpose, that to me purpose is the most important thing, because everything I do in life has to have purpose.
Yes.
The few times in my life when I took on work that had no purpose for me, like, for example, when I was working in a corporate world as a translator, literally the only purpose was to pay the bills, because what had happened is my ex suddenly got very ill. We were both in the band together. The gigging days were over, but the bills still needed paying. We still needed to eat. So the corporate job was literally a means to an end. And that's the only time in my life that my work made me sick, to the point that I couldn't continue doing it in the end. That's why I shifted into spirituality and energy healing. And every other time, as a musician, as an energy healer, now my work energizes me. I feel good. And even when there's busy times where I sometimes run on 4 hours sleep because some things just simply need doing, I do it with joy. So it doesn't actually feel like a chore. But when I was burning the candle at both ends as a translator, and each and every day I got up and I could not see the purpose to what I was doing, it became increasingly difficult to even get out of bed in the morning. And by the end, I was actually physically ill. The stress had actually taken its toll on my body.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much for your transparency, Silke. You said something. You said that, purpose is so significant that when we're not aligned with purpose, it often causes other issues. And I do believe that you're not the only person who has experienced, illness from being outside of purpose. It's so important for people to align. And I think so many people struggle with the internal war between leaving something that is a means to an end for them, or that they see as a means to an end, and doing something that aligns with purpose and that aligns with what they're dreaming about and with their inner, deep desire. And I believe that God puts purpose in all of us. And I think, he puts a desire in us to do something, to achieve something. And when we suppress that and we say, well, I can't do that because I need to do this, and I can't do that because I need to do that, we're suppressing the purpose, because oftentimes that inner desire often leads us to fulfilling purpose. And so you talked about getting sick. And so if there's anybody who is watching this and you know that what you're doing is not aligning with what makes you fulfilled, it's not aligning with your deep desire, you know that there's something else that you want to do, and you keep doing what you're doing because you feel you need to do it to pay the bills, you feel you need to do it because your family is relying on you, you feel you need to do it because you don't know how to do something else. There is a path to be able to do what you love, enjoy what you love. And so if you want insight on that, you can click the link that's in the chat, or you can send an email to admin@purposetoday.com. Now, I want to, Silke, get into your new book, and it's very exciting. And I want you to be able to just share with the audience just a little overview of Female Leaders Rising Volume 1, Founders Edition, and the value that viewers can have by reading your book.
Absolutely. I'm absolutely excited as well, because Female Leaders Rising is a global movement that I launched literally in September. So it's all brand new and exciting and happening. And the whole idea of the movement is that when women lead, prosperity grows. And I am gathering together women leaders who are already doing well on their chosen path, who are going out with me to create a movement where we help other women become more financially independent and prosperous as well. Because research has shown that when women earn money, they tend to spend 90% of it on their families in their communities. So what better way than to make this world a better place and lift people out of poverty than by giving women the financial tools to become independent. And that's the idea behind the whole movement. And the book is literally our founders book, the founders edition, where myself and 12 other co-founders of the movement have come together, and every one of us have written our story, our life story of how we got to this point in our lives. So there is huge value in this book to the reader. You can see all the struggles, all the different life journeys it took to get to the positions we are in now as female leaders. And women picking up this book and reading it can see for themselves what it takes to become successful, the determination it takes, the struggles you have to overcome, and hopefully they get inspired and think to themselves that they can do this as well and go out there and make success in this world after reading the book. That's my wish for this book.
What is one tip or one takeaway that readers can gain from reading the book? Just one tip or one takeaway.
One takeaway: no matter what happens to you in life, no matter what obstacles you have to overcome, too late. It's never a second chance in life. So if something goes wrong, keep going, because eventually, if you're determined enough, you will get to where you want to go. You will achieve your dreams as long as you never give up.
That's good. That's good. And I know we had a little bit of a delay. So the bottom line is for people to keep going, regardless of what they're facing. If they keep going, if they never give up, they're going to achieve their dreams. So thank you so much, Silke, for sharing about the book. Now, if there are viewers who want to purchase it, how would they purchase the book? I know it just released last week on Friday, on the 19th of December. So how would they purchase it if they want to purchase the book?
It is available as a Kindle edition on Amazon right now. And in the new year, there will also be a paperback version. But for now, if they go to Amazon.com and type in Female Leaders Rising, Volume 1, Founders Edition, and put my author name, Silke Harvey, they can find the book and purchase it right there.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And we'll drop that in the chat as well, so that anyone who's viewing can just simply click on the link in the chat to go to purchase that on Amazon. Now, I want to talk more about Female Leaders Rising, and you've mentioned your initiatives, you've mentioned what you're doing. I think it's so exciting. And I think it's wonderful that you're pulling leaders together from all around the world to really help to inspire and empower other emerging leaders. And you said something a little bit ago that I want us to really unpack a little bit before we talk more about Female Leaders Rising. You said that studies show that when women earn an income, they earn a salary, they actually take, and I want to make sure I heard this correctly, about 90% of it and give it back. They give it away. They contribute to their communities. They contribute to their families. Did I get that number right? 90%?
Absolutely. That's official research by the World Bank. And that's whether they earn a wage, a salary, or income from entrepreneurship. Women tend to give away 90% of it. Actually, one of the reasons why so many women are unhappy and unfulfilled as well, because we tend to look after everyone but number one. That is one of the big problems I have found during my workshops. I've worked with many women in their midlife, in their 40s, who've got it all and are deeply unhappy, because when you ask them what they wish for, they usually give you some answer about what their kids would like or what the partner would like, but never what they would like. So they're living a life for everybody else, but don't actually do anything nice for themselves. And because of that trend, I had this idea that we can actually use it in a way to our advantage and teach women to look after themselves and still help their families and the communities. So we are actually killing two birds with one stone here. We are educating women on how to live a better life and a more fulfilled life. And at the same time, we are using the fact that this is happening to redistribute the wealth on this planet, because the way I see it is there's no need for poverty, because there is enough money circulating on this planet for everybody.
I agree.
It just needs to be redistributed cleverly and in such a way that communities actually benefit from it.
Wow. I mean, it's a wonderful idea, looking at the fact that you have studies that show that women give 90% of their earnings away, to give to others, to support their families, to support communities, to support others, and looking at how if you empower the women, if you empower leaders, you develop more leaders. Not saying that men aren't leaders, because we're all leaders, but looking at the fact that if you are able to contribute to women leaders, because they're going to give 90% of their income away anyway, right, then that's going to really help everyone in turn. So excellent, Silke. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, I want to talk more about female leaders rising. And I've got the website there. I have the website there on the screen for anyone who is viewing. And as we go into talking about female leaders rising as an organization, I want to take a moment to pause, because you said something that you found that so many women who you've worked with and who you've talked to at seminars and in other places, they're unfulfilled because they're not pouring back into themselves. They're giving so many things away, and they're really not being kind to themselves and really taking care of themselves. So if you are a woman who's watching this episode, this live stream right now, or you're watching the replay later, I want you to just take a moment, just pause for just a moment and think about, what is it that you truly desire? What do you desire for yourself? What do you envision for yourself? Just close your eyes and think about what you envision for yourself. I know many people are not going to ask you about what you want for yourself. You're thinking about what to do for your families, what to do for your significant other, what to do for your neighbors, your colleagues. But what do you want for yourself? Now, whatever that is, I want you to write it down. And then I want you to make a commitment to yourself today that every day you are going to take some time to do something towards whatever it was that you just wrote down. And once you have accomplished that, if that is no longer on your list, then make a new one. And make sure that every day you're taking time to pour back into yourself some way. And we're going to talk about female leaders rising, because many of you might need to connect with Silke and really help other women. And many of you might know that you're a leader, but you have some untapped potential, and you could benefit from being poured into by Silke and all of the many women leaders from around the world who are giving back to women just like you, who are leaders, who have leadership on the inside of them, but they just need someone to pour into them. So, Silke, can you share more about female leaders rising? And if there's someone who is watching, what they can do to connect and what they can do to make an impact.
Okay, so we have just launched the book. That was step number 1. And we are continuing to build on that now with a full media channel for Female Leaders Rising. In the new year, there will be a magazine, there will be a podcast, and there will be a TV channel, to all of which women are very welcome to contribute. There will also be further books. So this is the complete media section. Then we are starting a business academy where we're going to launch courses where women can learn how to create online businesses, because our plan is to enable as many women as possible who want to go into entrepreneurship. So that's another section that is being developed as we speak. And then going further forward into the future, we are creating a global network of retreat venues, with the biggest venue being a tall ship, because we are creating a leadership academy at sea for women. So there are many ways to get involved. The initial way is to get in touch with me and to say that you are interested in getting involved in the whole movement, and then we can see in which way you can contribute, either through the media, or you might be involved with a retreat venue who we can then speak to see if we can work together, or maybe even investors for the ship, because that's something we are doing as well. We are looking for investors who can help us with purchasing the ship, etc. So there are many avenues you can go down. Anyone has got something they can contribute, even if it's a course they've created that can be included in the business academy, for example. But so step number 1 is to get in touch and say you want to be a co-founder or a contributor, and then we see how we can work together.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Silke, for sharing that. And for those of you who are watching, if this resonates with you, if there's something that you heard and you know that you need to get connected with Silke Harvey and Female Leaders Rising, there's so much that can be done. So definitely visit the website. It's on the screen, and connect. So Silke, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for being a guest today, for sharing your experiences. And I know that this time has been very well spent. Thank you so much for being a guest. Is there anything that you want to leave our guests with as we conclude today?
Well, first of all, thank you, Dr. April, for having me. It's been a wonderful time. I've enjoyed myself. And
Welcome.
I would like to say this to the listeners, that no matter where you are at this point in your life, no matter where I am meeting you today, it is never too late to do the things that you want to do in life. And the most important thing is to take the first step and get moving, because the only way to achieve your dreams is to take that very first step, because every single journey in life starts with that very first step that you take outside the door, and the rest will unfold as you walk along.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Silke. I think that's excellent advice. Now, if anyone wants to contact you, what is the best way for them to do so?
Okay, they can contact me through the email on the website, femaleleadersrising.com. They can also get in touch with me on LinkedIn. My profile, you can also contact me on Facebook, where my profile is silke.harvey.
Thank you so much, Silke, for sharing that. I'm going to do my best to have your links added into the chat so that it's easier for individuals to be able to click on those links and access that. I know that you said that they can go to the website, Female Leaders Rising, to click the contact from within Female Leaders Rising. And then you also mentioned that they can connect with you on LinkedIn. So they have that option as well. And you also mentioned Facebook as an option. So I have your LinkedIn profile and the website there for anyone who wants to reach you. Thank you so much, Silke. This has just been a wonderful time speaking with you. Thank you for all of the insights that you have shared. And thank you so much for those of you who are viewing, for viewing today, this episode with our special guest, Silke Harvey, as we've talked about resilience and purpose and pioneering new paths. So if there's something that you desire to do, then you have to be the person to make a decision that you're going to move forward, that you are going to not allow anything, including yourself, to stop you. So thank you again, Silke, for being a guest today. I know you and I are going to talk backstage here in just a moment. And thank you again for all of the guests for tuning in. Thank you for your engagement in the chat. I have absolutely enjoyed all of you tuning in today. This has been such a joy to have you all here viewing this episode of Purpose Today with Dr. April Dobson and our very special guest, Silke Harvey. And if you are someone who needs to make a pivot professionally, you're not quite sure how or what to do, you can send an email to admin@purposetoday.com. You can visit the Purpose Today website and complete the registration for the purposetoday.com website, and we are happy to assist you in getting from where you are, transforming your life so that you can get away from doing what's burning you out, what's causing you stress, and what's making you sick, into doing something that's aligned with your purpose and doing what you love. So until next time, make it a purpose-filled day and a purpose-filled week. Thank you again for tuning in to Purpose Today.